programs from Meridian-a-Thames First Nation of the Lenape people on whose traditional territory we are gathered here today. I am here on behalf of the Global Indigenous Youth Caucus, representing youth from around the world, who are more than 50% of the Indigenous peoples globally, to present our first statement to the 11th session of the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. The Global Indigenous Youth Caucus has decided by consensus to make a visible action to demand our right to full, equal, and effective participation of all Indigenous nations and peoples registered for this year's forum. It is dehumanizing to be denied appropriate space after having credentialed so many Indigenous peoples prior to the announcement about space limitations. Many have traveled here over great distances from many Indigenous lands with the intention to participate in the Permanent Forum at a great expense of our time and monetary funds. The youth, on behalf of the Indigenous nations we represent, are taking this action because our elders, because the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues is a space that was created and lobbied for by our elders to provide a place for Indigenous peoples to be heard and have our struggles recognized. In order for the Permanent Forum to fulfill its mandate in hearing the voices of Indigenous participants, we require adequate space to accommodate all Indigenous participants for the duration of this year's session, as well as future sessions. In solidarity for the dignified participation of Indigenous peoples in this session, we initiate action so that we have a productive and successful dialogue for this year's theme of Doctrine of Discovery and proceeding agenda items. As Indigenous youth, it is our responsibility to learn from our elders and respect our ancestors. It is also equally important that we, as the inheritors to land and struggles, are listened to and heard. For this to happen, it is vital that we, as Indigenous peoples, all stand together in solidarity and take back the Permanent Forum in the name of its intended purpose. The youth have chosen this peaceful action so that you, our relatives, may join us in solidarity. For the future of Indigenous nations and peoples to have full, equal, and effective participation in the Permanent Forum, we must demand that our voices be heard today. Thank you.
From the young people. They are the legacy of this community at the United Nations.
And there must be a change.